All team, give it everything you got.
It's time to fangirl flail with Fangirls Going Rogue.
Count me in. I don't think there's anything more important in the Star Wars universe than the fans.
News, discussion, and commentary from the female point of view.
You call this a diplomatic solution?
No, I call it aggressive negotiations.
With your hosts, Teresa Delgado, Trisha Barr, and Sarah Woloski.
Boy, am I glad to hear your voice.
Strap in, because this is where the fun begins.
I like the sound of that.
Welcome to episode 44 of Fangirls Going Rogue. You are getting 2 episodes in the month of April. What is happening? With me are my co-hosts Trisha Barr from Fangirl Blog and the Star Wars Visual Encyclopedia, which is out now. She just had her book birthday. How was your book birthday, Trisha?
My book birthday was awesome. This week has been awesome. So I'm just so excited. Everybody check it out. I'm getting a lot of love.
Oh. Good. It's a good book. If you don't have it, you need to go pick it up. And also with us is Sarah Woloski from Skywalking Through Neverland. How's it going, my friend?
It is going amazing. We just had a really good time, and we're going to see each other, you guys, in like a week.
I know.
Exactly.
It's like 7 days.
It is going to be here, and we're going to be at 40th panels and stuff like that. Oh my gosh.
It's so surreal. It's so, really, for me, it's just like crazy that it's so close. And I'm also like, yes, a week off of school.
And didn't you just have one? Wasn't it just...
Yeah, it was just spring break.
Yeah.
Second spring break.
Yay, second spring break.
Second spring break feels great. So if you haven't heard our first episode from this month, it's episode number 43, and it's a really amazing episode. We talked to Claudia Gray, Joe Caroni, and Brian Miller, all creators, and it's just really, really, really awesome. And Sarah, since I just took your words, you can take mine.
Okay. Well, you know what? I didn't read that yet because that wasn't mine. Hold on.
Alrighty, then I'm going to go do what I will just do it. Episode 43 also has some insight into our podcast stage appearance, which is Friday of Star Wars Celebration, which is April 14th, I believe. And it's from 3 to 4. And there's also a lot of information about other places that we're going to be during the actual convention so that you can come and find us and get buttons and say hi and just chat us up.
Yeah, and also make sure to log into fangirlsgoingrogue.com where we will be putting our events and where we will be on there. So if you ever... And then follow our Twitters, of course, because we will be posting.
Exactly. So, and really we should be planning right now. We should be planning for things like the podcast stage. But we decided we wanted to talk more about just Star Wars in general. We had this amazing discussion on The Chosen One on episode 43. We're like, we'll do something easy, The Chosen One. And we ended up talking about Harry Potter, which I know nothing about.
And Claudia Gray shamed you.
Yes, she did. She's like, come into the world and read Harry Potter. So, okay, after Celebration, I will do that. But sometimes we feel rushed at the end doing that character discussion, which is our, that's the segment that we always do. So I'm thinking maybe we just do the character discussion up front. And I don't know what we should talk about, though.
Well, how about we talk about character arcs in Season 3 of Star Wars Rebels, since the Season 3 is over, and we can talk about it now.
I really like that, but I might have someone that I could call who would love to talk about that kind of thing. Let me see if I can get him on the phone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So, hi, Dave. Welcome to Fangirls Going Rogue. Are you getting prepped for Star Wars Celebration and all of the great kid questions that you're going to get?
Oh, yeah. Constantly. It comes up fast, especially after the holidays. But, we do our best to have really exciting stuff and some very specific stuff. I think the fun thing about Celebration is you can you're dealing with people that know Star Wars in a very detailed level. So, certain reveals will, I think, be even more special there to the fans as a group than even like the general audience. So, it's a place to really shine with some of our more extreme details and fun things we're doing in the shows.
Well, speaking of kids and families, we wanted to relay a message to you from one of our listeners. Her name is Kaya Gita, and she said, "Thank you, because this show was the gateway to the Star Wars galaxy for my 2 children, and being able to share our love for Star Wars as a family means the world to us." So that's from one of our listeners, and we wanted you to know that. And we want to start off talking about Rebels. What are some of your personal highlights from this season?
Oh man, that's always tough. Honestly, I try to find something I like in all the episodes. Obviously, that would probably be a good thing to do, right? But I really was looking forward to the Sabine Darksaber episode. I wanted to do an episode like that for a while. I wanted to do a real Jedi Master training episode with swords, and I think the twist that it wasn't even, somebody that has the Force as a Jedi to be trained made it even better because it's more accessible to the audience. I think it was critical to really get into Sabine's head and understand what's driving her and, kind of how her life has been complicated. And I wanted to make that episode really all about, the emotional states of these characters and what drives them personally, as opposed, the sword technique and all that is kind of a layer beneath that, but it's not the most important thing. It becomes important if you relate to her and you relate to the struggle going on there. So she's always been a very capable character, because she's very well educated. She went to an academy, so she has a lot of training and knows how to do a lot of things. But she had a limitation when it came really to dealing with her family and her emotions. And I really looked forward to telling that story.
Well, it's interesting you mention Sabine's story because my next question kind of ties into that. And we had a recent interview with Kevin Kiner, and we had asked about the instrumentation for Thrawn's theme and the drums used during that Sabine's catharsis in Trials of the Darksaber. So for both, Kiner had said that you had suggested the instrumentation. So can you tell us about your musical ideas and maybe how they influence or are influenced by the characters?
Sure. It's one of the more fun aspects, I think, because my father was very big into opera and symphonies growing up. So we would have a lot of music in the house all the time. And he related a lot to the Star Wars music because it was so operatic. So, and I was in the band growing up. I was in the marching band in high school and played the trumpet. So, it's good to get a broad spectrum of music and music interests, and especially as a filmmaker, you need to draw on different things to represent different characters. For Thrawn in particular, I wanted to have something that was very unique to the character, that it wasn't just like he gets his own version of the Imperial March, but it somehow reflected, his intellect. He's such an important character to so many people. And I also have a great respect for, Tim Zahn and, the fact that he really brought this character to life. So I don't take lightly using him in these stories. I feel like we have a lot of people counting on us to do this right. And that includes, the vocal performance and the music. So it just occurred to me that, we'd never really use, if you watch a lot of classic films, a lot of villainy was played out on an organ. You can find different versions of that, be it in the Nautilus, with Captain Nemo playing an organ. It's often a Phantom of the Opera motif. There's also some powerful music by Philip Glass that involves kind of an organ instrumentation in Koyaanisqatsi, which is a kind of a music and images life out of balance. So that stuff was all influencing me, and I just pulled it from my memory and started listening to it and said to Kevin, maybe we could use something in an organ. And Kevin and I have such a great collaborative relationship now going back that I just know that if I can get him down a path, that he's going to take it much farther than I could. So when he seems to think it's a good idea too, I'm pretty confident. And I think for Sabine, it really was just wanting some kind of, intense drumming. I can't remember if he used a taiko drum or not, but I just wanted something that was playing off of a lot of samurai films that I had watched over the years, and give her the full treatment that she deserved as this warrior coming into her own. He has, certain themes for all the characters, something we discussed in Rebels early on, since we'd be having the characters throughout the series in every episode, that we can be more thematic with the music than we were in Clone Wars, where we dealt with character groups every now and then. So, it's just sometimes I get ideas and I'll just talk to Kevin, or I'll say, hey, listen to this, and see what you think. And I'll try to guide him on something. And then we got to do our own thing, we have to do our own take on it. But it's more you listen to music for the feeling of it. I mean, this is the feeling I'm going for. Mm-hmm. Or this is the movie, Kevin, check out this movie. You just always trying to be on the same page. When you're telling a story visually like we are, and sound is a big component of it, you need to keep everybody on the same page for what you're trying to say and describe. And as the director, that's your main responsibility, is to keep everybody, from the actors, the designers, the storytellers, the storyboard artists, everybody's making the same movie. So I will constantly tell the crew the story in meetings and how it's evolving and why things came up the way they did, so they have a broader understanding of the story. And I try things out on them, and I see how they react to the story. So everybody's getting the story over and over again, as if we're all sitting around the campfire, and I'll tell the story again. So I did that relentlessly with Vader and Ahsoka. I told the story and told the story and told the story, and would build them up and see when they got excited and when they weren't. And the music is the same. I'll make the crew listen to certain pieces of music that I want them to get their brains all in the same musical realm as mine, even if they're storyboarding, because it's like they'll tell you here at work, when I storyboard or shoot a scene, I will listen to the same piece of music on repeat over and over and over and over again, just to try and stay in that moment of how I'm emotionally feeling with the music. So,
wow. So like Phantom of the Opera was streaming as you were working on Thrawn things.
Not Phantom of the Opera, no.
Okay.
No, I won't reveal what it was. I won't reveal. But yeah, it wasn't that. I can tell you that much.
Okay.
It's great though, but it wasn't that.
Well, you know what? The reaction to Thrawn was so great at Celebration London, and Timothy Zahn himself has said that the hard part about working with a character like Thrawn is that he's just so smart. So can you tell us just a bit about the process of integrating this incredible villain into the show this season?
Yeah, well, Tim's right on about that. If you exploit Thrawn to, all of his abilities, then probably it's just a 3-episode season, because he'd probably capture them. I tried to give him that same gravitas. It's the same with Vader, right? If Vader's in a lot of episodes, then the Rebels are doomed, because he's going to get them. So I wanted to play a game, and Henry Gilroy and I talked about it quite a bit, where Thrawn is planning. He believes our rebels are the key to a much bigger chunk of the rebellion. He wants to get it all at once, and he doesn't see the point in capturing a person at a time here and there. He's also testing his own forces and seeing where there are weaknesses in his own group, so he can make them stronger by the time of the finale. So we decided to play this long game where he's willing to accept certain losses because he sees them as education, not as losses. And that's the way he works in season 3 until he decides to go in and crush them. And the only way Thrawn could possibly lose that battle in the end is actually because Constantine undermines him and is willing to do things for his own glory, he thinks. And then Sato has to make a bigger self-sacrifice in that moment, which is very important to getting Ezra away. So it's just a decision to play the long game with Thrawn and try to make it feel like he's not losing. And I think that can be difficult for some of the audience, because, the Thrawn enthusiasts are going to be very like, there's no way he would fall for that. But I think it pays off in the end, that you see clearly, like he says, everything up to this point was rehearsal. And so that it's been a plan. Thrawn just has to be in control the whole time. So it's really incumbent on our rebels to try to figure out a way to find a weakness in him now that they see what they're really up against, which is that he's very patient. So does he have a blind spot? Who knows?
Well, we can't not talk about Bendu then if you're going to talk about Thrawn and a little bit of the story, because their stories came to a head there at the end. Was Bendu in part created to counter the kind of overwhelming villainy of Thrawn in this season? Was there any connection?
Bendu, I don't know that I created him in response to Thrawn as much as, I'm always looking for ways to express the Force and the nature of the Force and how Jedi are interacting with it. And he's kind of in some ways like a personification of it. Bendu really is a development of, as a kid reading a lot of Tolkien and Tom Bombadil, a character like that, a character that almost feels like they're bygone and outside of the universe that in that universe. So they're not as affected by things in that universe. They'll kind of help you, maybe, if they feel like it. They're not really villains, but they're not going to go on the adventure with you. That's always hard for the heroes to understand because they think, well, why aren't you going to help me? You're so powerful. Not realizing that they can't do the things you need to do because you have to do them on your own. It's like Galadriel telling Frodo, this task is appointed to you, and if you can't carry it out, then no one can. Like, you can't pass these burdens up. So that's what kind of Kanan struggles with. When Kanan, it was really to help Kanan deal with his limiting himself when he thinks he's blind, not realizing the true vision he has and the gifts he has and that he's alive. And that alone, that connection to life, allows him to see things in his own unique way. So I wanted a character that wasn't one we knew, like a Yoda talking to him, but was something else, and that deals with the fact that in the Force there's the light and the dark, and you hear that a lot. But really, those things will never go away. You can think of defeating the dark, but really I think that's confused with trying to defeat the Sith, who are using the dark side of the Force, or the Jedi who are using the light side of the Force. But those things exist in nature. You can't possibly hope to, destroy the dark entirely. You need these things for balance. And out of that balance comes this energy and this power, and it's promoted. You hope things are in balance. You don't want things to be in the dark too much because then it's your greed overpowering you and your selfishness. But Bendu's been around such a long time, and he, I think, played that game a lot when he was young, but now he's moved on. And he finds Kanan interesting, mainly because he woke up and he's like, this guy's bothering me, but, well, what a bizarre twist in a Jedi. He's so conflicted. But he's very clear that he doesn't want to get wrapped up in this war, and he's upset at Kanan because he feels that he brought it to him. So now he's going to have to get active. But he's also, I think, in the end, humored by Thrawn's notion that Thrawn could somehow destroy Bendu, because Bendu doesn't play that way. Bendu's just, he's a little beyond what Thrawn could handle.
So we had a lot of thought into this interview. We had to ask about one of our favorite characters. And I'm not sure if you're aware of the hot Kallus fan club that's now going on out there.
I am aware of it.
All right.
And I'll tell you why, because I think the original hot Kallus fan club lives on my crew. They... The crew, I don't know what it is, but like there was this, everybody got excited about Kallus and, the end of season 3. And I'm like, well, I don't know that this will go beyond here, but then it immediately did. And it's funny what a few loose strands of hair, can just generate. No matter what plot points you try to come up with and depth and story and dimension, it's, little did I know, just moving his hair would be the biggest excitement in his turn from villain to hero, possibly. So I think it's fun. I think it's great. We all think it's funny, but it's also fun because really it's like you take a character that's a villain that's a challenge to our guys and a threat, and then he becomes so likable that you've got this element to it. I think it's a good sign, actually.
Tumblr has gone wild, so yes, we appreciate it. So hopefully there'll be more hairstyles for him.
Well, and since we're kind of
we'll
talking
see. That could alone be the panel, I guess. At Celebration, the Kallus hairstyling. But
I think the people would
fun.
come.
Oh, they would. They really
Right.
would. Well, and since we're kind of talking about villains, we all knew that eventually Darth Maul would have to meet his end, and I am a massive Darth Maul fan. What nuances did you put into Maul's appearance in Rebels to prepare us for his ultimate death?
Yeah, it was a big challenge. I mean, it's always difficult when you have to take out a character because, I like these characters. And not just that, I really like the people that perform them. Sam has done a fantastic job with Maul and adding, to his character. I think he's so respectful of the work that, it's built on in the past. And, he was asked a tall order to portray that character on Clone Wars. I was really thrilled we could bring him back in Rebels in a very exciting arc. But it just gets to the point where he's such a notable character that you feel, well, we probably would have known or heard about him. He would have been a problem in the original trilogy. He's just too good of a villain to have sat that one out. So we all felt that we had to deal with Maul and bump him off. It felt, we discussed several different ways to do it, but in the end, there was a feeling that the Obi-Wan grudge, that fight was inevitable because they are drawn a parallel to each other from when they, first meet to when they last meet, and how their lives change between the moment from Phantom Menace to this episode now. It's kind of an education in Obi-Wan's trying to do things the way he thinks a Jedi should, and then him understanding that he needs to become even more selfless and let go of things, including, any sense of hatred or revenge or anger. And he has plenty of reasons to do those things. But building off the ideas we set in Clone Wars, where when Maul, destroys Satine, Obi-Wan cannot allow himself to be overcome by this anger in that moment. If he does, then he's not just undermining himself, but he's undermining what Satine and him and their relationship stands for, which is they deeply care about one another, but they make a choice to be selfless and to give their existence, their lives to everybody else, which, is, I think, hard for some people to understand, but is quite, amazing and quite enlightened in other ways. Satine challenges Obi-Wan because of her incredible compassion and intellect. She's very wise, and she can verbally joust with him in a way that, makes him a better character. So it seemed right then that Obi-Wan and Maul needed to come back together in the end, and there are certain visual parallels that I wanted. Obi-Wan holds both Qui-Gon and Darth Maul at the end of their lives. They're both speaking of the possibility of the chosen's existence at the end of their lives. You see differences, but there's visual symmetry there to tell the story. I think you see now Obi-Wan, you see him there with Qui-Gon as a young man who doesn't understand exactly what he's supposed to do, and then you see him as an older man who's very wise and actually feels sorry for this evil person who was trying to destroy him. So there's a lot that's going on there, and it's almost like Maul's, I don't want to say he's asking for it, but he needs his life to have a resolution. That's really what his story in Rebels is about, is he's trying to force some kind of conclusion. Either he'll destroy Obi-Wan, and then he'll go on from there. He'll feel more powerful, but it actually, won't solve as much as he thinks it does, because revenge is an unfulfilling thing. Or he'll be destroyed, and perhaps he'll find some peace in that. But Maul's failing is he can never let go of his need for revenge to his last breath. And that's what he needs to do. He needs to let go of those things, because that's what's weighed him down and made him cruel and wicked. And though he longs for brotherhood, and a mentorship like he tries with Ezra, because he can't let go of himself in that process, he's never going to obtain that joy that you get from instructing someone else either. It's all empty for him.
Do you think that a character like Maul, who he's no longer a Sith, do you think he has the ability to pass into the Force? Because I think we're led to believe that only light side users get to do that. But what about someone like Maul?
Well, it really depends, because he doesn't let it go. I think you have to be careful. Like the light side passing into the Force, yes, I would say that that's more true than not. But it depends what you're talking about. Like, there is the cosmic force, and then there's the living force. You know, obviously, when we're here breathing, we're part of the living force, and we're interacting with the world around us, and we can use the force through us. It's with knowledge, training, dedication to that discipline. When the cosmic force is just part of it all. So you don't really have your consciousness. And the Jedi don't believe that you do maintain your consciousness after death at the time of the Clone Wars. They think that you pass on into the Force and then you're reborn in some other way, perhaps, but they don't believe in the individuality of it because that feels like a selfish thing to them. But Yoda and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, they're able to obtain this kind of unique state of mind through ultimate sacrifice and selflessness. Because in that form, you know, the famous blue ghosts or whatever have you, they're actually just mentoring and instructing still. They're not really doing much for themselves or of themselves. Sith, like the Emperor, is cast into oblivion, which is very classic in mythology as well. He doesn't become part of the whole again because he's cast out and he's limited by his selfishness and his need for power. This destroys him. His power only exists when he's part of the living force. And he's a wretched thing, and he tries desperately to hold on to it, prolonging life, which is why he's interested in immortality, because he sees death as an absolute. For Maul, I think it's hard to say. You know, he doesn't really seek some redemption in the end. He's still bent on revenge. So it's hard to say but he definitely wouldn't have a consciousness after it. Maybe he's part of the cosmic force again. I don't know. It's interesting that Anakin, through selfless action at the end of his life, then does become part of the cosmic force, at least temporarily, for all we know. But I don't know. I mean, these are things that would be much better to ask George. I don't know. I mean, I only like to guess at them. I like to guess at those things that based on a lot of the things I was taught and a lot of the discussions I had. I don't ever like to be the last word on those things. I think that's improper. It's not for me to say. So I give you my best guess. But it's, you know, Star Wars is this universe now. It's this thing. And, I mean, who's to say? I don't know. I leave that up to the interpretation of the audience, really.
You've talked about Obi-Wan giving up himself as a Jedi, but we've noticed that Kanan particularly was, you know, he's part of the Jedi Order that Obi-Wan came from, but he seems to be getting stronger in his beliefs and his certitude because of his relationships, because of a counsel from Hera, who he seems to respect, and the fake ghost family. Is there perhaps a different path for some people to finding their balance in the Force?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think any one group or person owns the right path over it. You know, I think that, you know, definitely in some ways his experience is defining him, and Kanan has choices to do many different things in life. Teaching Ezra has been a part of that, and that's really an idea that starts with Hera, but he trusts her, you know, and I he cares very deeply for her, I would say, so he respects her opinion, and, you know, he's had a different life than he would have as a Jedi, but in a lot of ways, the lives that the Jedi were leading at the time of the Clone War was part of what brought them their downfall. You know, when you look at Luke, and Luke is surrounded by friends, and Luke definitely loves his friends and cares about them, but then he can also let that go and let them stand on their own. He trusts them and believes in them, you know, so that's kind of a new strength. It's not that, you know, say Anakin and Obi-Wan didn't trust each other, but at a certain point, Anakin's very mad at Obi-Wan because he feels that Obi-Wan's putting politics ahead of their friendships. You know, he's very upset when Obi-Wan is accusing the Chancellor of things and not believing Anakin to say, well, why don't we go talk to him? You know, it seems like a lot of subterfuge in politics, and that's not the way Anakin wants to be. So Yeah, I don't know. It's for Kanan. He definitely has this arc, and he's ascending. I feel at the end of the season, if you look at it, he's the one that believes that he can see a future where they are all free. And at the beginning of the season, he can't see that, and that's a huge difference for him, right? Ezra's in the beginning obsessed with power and dark power and believing that he needs to amass that for strength. Well, they have more strength by the end of season 3 than they've ever had, strength of arms and weapons, but they can't overcome Thrawn. So he's kind of left completely shattered, like, now what do we do? Now we're beat back down. But Kanan's like, nah, but they were not, because we're alive, because we work together. He still believes that there's a way, which is a huge difference for Kanan. So we'll have to see where it goes in season 4. I'm very excited. I like what we're doing with it a lot. I hope you guys are going to like it. I really appreciate, all the thought and questions and just discussion that goes on in the different fan groups. It really means a lot to tell stories and to have people actually think about them and comment about them. So I just really appreciate that on your guys' end, that you create a community where people can have these discussions, and just think about it and wonder about it. It's why sometimes you'll see, I know a lot of times I get accused of being cagey in interviews and I don't want to answer things, but I also don't want to rob people of their ability to imagine, right, what the possibilities are. Yep. Why would I final word things? I'm sure people have a wide range of things they feel about different characters, and from Hot Kallus to Kanan's journey. So, and it's all fun to talk about. It's something I look forward to most at Celebration. You guys get bonus points. You haven't asked me at all about Ahsoka, which is, I don't mind. It's just, you probably know by now that I'm not really going to say anything about it. So
honestly, I think we like imagining what happened to Ahsoka.
Yeah,
right?
Especially with her. Yeah,
we did a whole episode on your cards on your art, the artwork.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
we did a whole episode.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Those are fun to draw. That was a really fun thing that I did. I could make those cards about anything I wanted, so I just did that series, and I just loaded them up with concepts. But it's, part of what you're seeing there is just I'm working it out, as I'm telling the story in my head over and over again, and that's one of the methods I can use is to draw it, but that's a very raw look at that process, which is kind of fun. And she's just, honestly, she's fun to draw. And I really like that costume, this kind of more armored samurai costume. The Black Series figure, I have it right here on my desk, is like my favorite thing. It's a really good figure. I was trying to figure out how to ball joint the back Leku.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Right? Because you can buy ball joints. But anyway, yeah, a lot of fun. So yeah, it's great. Thanks for discussing it. And
speaking of your everybody at Celebration and all that stuff, we know you're doing quite a few panels, including Animated Origins and Unexpected Fates, and of course the season 4 sneak peek. We're super excited about the Heroines of Star Wars panel, which unfortunately has a half-hour overlap with our show on the podcast stage. So
oh my God.
Can you get? Yeah, I know. So could you give us a little sneak peek at what you guys will be talking about to tide us over until we get to watch the stream on StarWars.com?
Oh man, what a bummer. That's like there's that timing, huh?
Yeah, we know.
I know.
Wow. I could stall.
Oh,
that'd be great. That'd be great.
Tell some stories at the top of the panel and see.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll
run right over.
Yeah, we'll run over.
I can't go into too much detail. I'm really excited about that panel. I think that, it's terrible. Anything I can say right now is going to be terrible because they'd be like, people could be really excited in that panel. People in that panel are going to have a great time, but you guys aren't going to be there. Oh, man. Well, I think you're really going to enjoy it. I'm excited about what we'll be presenting and talking about there. I think it's a lot of fun, and we're just doing some interesting things. So you'll see, I really can't talk more about it. We're so close, just a week away, right? So, yeah, I wish you guys could be there. But it's also cool that you're doing your thing, and that's important too. You have to be out there. And what do you present at your panel? Like, what will that be? will you be just podcasting on the panel stage, or are you discussing an aspect of podcasting, or?
We're going to talk about Carrie Fisher and Princess Leia's
wow.
legacy in Star Wars. And we're going to bring some women forward, because that's what we do, is advocate for women creators in Star Wars. So we're going to have a few up there so people can see women working in Star Wars. That's our goal.
And we've created a special design for that podcast stage as well. So we love following in your footsteps and creating awesome designs for things.
Yeah, great. No, that all sounds great. And it is important. I can't say enough about trying to empower, a lot of kids, young girls, to get into this industry, to study storytelling, to just get involved. It's definitely something that I look for. Over the years, I have friends that are directors and stuff, and I can tell you, like, they are so booked working. And one of these days I'll have one doing an animated show for me, I'm sure. But, it's an important thing. My wife and I discuss it all the time. A lot of, you'll see in the the Sabine episode I wrote, is a lot of influence from Anne, that's my wife, and the discussions we have about, just equality and ways to do stories, to develop better characters, because she's very well educated and all these things. So I've learned a ton from her, and it's just right. It's very powerful. If you see it, you can be it. And we had a women in animation panel at one celebration, which I thought was really great, where we had a lot of the people from my team that are working, like ABC and Athena Portilla. And their contribution to Star Wars is huge. I certainly wouldn't have the success I've had without them. So I love that you guys are showcasing that. I think it's great. Well done. I wish I could go to that. See, you'd be surprised when I sneak into stuff. You would be surprised when I take that hat off. I can get around. I'm always sad because I mean to get to, I would go to a panel like that. I love the cosplay demonstrations where people explain how they make stuff.
Yeah. I
was actually in the back of one of those when they were doing Clone Wars. It was really cool. So that was really fun for me. There's tons of stuff at Celebration. You can, there's so many great panels all day long that you're bound to cross over with one and miss something else. But I really look forward to the cosplay. I really look forward to Rebels cosplay, to Clone Wars cosplay. I was going up an escalator once, and I turned around and Hondo's yelling at me, like full on Hondo Ohnaka, and I just couldn't. He's had the voice, he was like, "Dave, when am I going to be in Rebels?" I was like, "Wow," and I couldn't tell him, go watch the trailer. But, it was, that's my kind of fun there. I just love it. The work that goes into those things is unbelievable. So
I'm going to give a shout out to Shaz Bazaar there, because that was him.
That's Shaz Bazaar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that right?
He's a podcaster. Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that right? That's awesome. Well, it was a fantastic Honda. The worst is when a friend of mine that's there will show me a picture of somebody with an amazing cosplay, and I'm like, I have not seen that. And then I'll go all weekend without running into them, because some people have a different thing every day. Mm-hmm. So I try to see as many as Sam Witwer and I were walking around the backside of the London convention last year, and we came around and there was a full-on Darth Maul with robot legs.
Whoa.
I was like, oh my gosh. And so we almost fell over because we were so excited, and he almost fell over literally because he couldn't believe that Sam and I were standing there, but he was fantastic. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. Very cool.
Very cool. Well, if we get a chance
hopefully I'll
to see
you guys there.
Yeah.
We'll save one of our special carry-on buttons that that Sarah designed, actually. We'll save one for you.
Oh, that's great. Well, I have a button this year.
Ooh.
People know. Hopefully, yeah, I know, right? But probably I'll have with me Claudia, my assistant, and she'll probably have them, so we can. When you see us, remember to ask for a button, because we might forget to give them out because we get busy. But I made a fun one this year, and will you be at the Rebels panel?
Oh,
yeah, we will.
Okay, I hope so. It should be good.
Yeah, we'll be there.
It should be
Definitely.
good.
You have a 5 more after the last year.
Yeah.
So.
I know. It was a very high bar, right? It gets more difficult.
That was like the craziest
man.
room I've ever been in at a convention with that panel. So that's a high bar.
Right, with the Thrawn one?
Oh yeah. I started crying somewhere. I could tell he was coming, and I was starting to cry, and the room was shaking. The seats were shaking next to me. It was crazy. So
he's a big deal, and believe me, it's one of the things probably most proud of at the end of the day, that we were able to do that and bring him to the show and to the fans. And we worked really hard. Lars, his voice work as Thrawn, I just think is fantastic, and that was such a huge part of it. You don't know the amount of effort casting that voice. I was like, how are we going to do this? We have to find a voice that everybody has kind of pictured when they read this book.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but
again.
I think Lars really does it. And anybody that was kind of on the fence has all kind of said, well, it wasn't what I pictured when I read it, but I really like what he's doing. So people have been incredibly generous to us, and I really appreciate that. But great. Well, you guys have me excited more about Celebration. I'm really, how's that? So we've helped each other today, I hope. So very good. Very good. I look forward to seeing you guys.
Well, thank you for your time
so much.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, the one lucky thing is there wasn't any big news today, because I can tell you that we were just crazy excited all day about this interview. So there was some mayhem in our Facebook DM thread, which is, probably we'll go back and look at it and be like, woo, we were really excited.
We were very excited. There actually is a piece of news. It didn't come out today, but it is something that I would like to talk about, because it does fly under the radar, I think, a little bit, but I don't think it really can anymore, since General Syndulla is going to be on it. And that is that Lego Star Wars The Freemaker Adventures has been renewed for a second season, and Vanessa Marshall is playing General Syndulla on The Freemaker Adventure. So it's got me thinking all these things. I hate it when they do stuff like that, because now I'm going, okay, so wait. The Freemaker Adventures wasn't supposed to be canon, but General Syndulla is in there. Is it canon now? I'm confused.
Well, you know what? I think the Lego Freemaker Adventures is kind of like alternate universe. So, you know how the DC shows on the CW kind of have their alternate universes going on? Like Earth 19 is the Earth with Supergirl and women rule the Earth kind of a thing. And Earth 1 and Earth 2, all that. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think of Lego Freemaker Adventures is. It's kind of like the alternate Star Wars universe. So some things can travel between them if they have the right, methods of doing so. Which is to say the story group says, hey, we'll put you here. But that's what I think of it. It's like alternate universe. So it doesn't really have an effect on our Star Wars universe, but it can definitely be affected by our Star Wars universe.
Were y'all excited when you heard the news? I don't know if you guys watch the show. I watch it a lot, and I actually have it recorded so I can rewatch it whenever I want to.
I just like that it has fun, that it doesn't take itself too seriously, because sometimes we take our Star Wars way too seriously. Like trying to dig things out of the showrunners and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it's back to the thing that Star Wars was when we were kids, when we didn't take it too seriously, which was have fun with it and be entertained and have an adventure, but we still were learning lessons from the characters. So, they still try to keep the spirit of storytelling to children, to give them something to learn, even when they're having fun and being really goofy. So, Roger, we're ready for you.
Wait! This is overheating my logic circuits. I'm gonna stop thinking about it. Hey guys, what's new?
Yeah, and if you want to learn a little bit more about the show and actually about the character of Palpatine, listen to our Fangirl Chat podcast. You can go to iTunes or your podcatcher and look for Fangirl Chat. And we did an interview with Trevor Duvall, who is actually the voice of Palpatine in all of the Lego stuff, but specifically in the Freemaker Adventures, and he talks a little bit about that. And then if you guys don't mind, there really is only one podcast out there that covers the show, and it's done by two friends of ours, Jonah Marie Macias and Aaron Goins. So go check out Star Scavengers. They do a really great job talking about the show and talking with creators of the show, and there really is only one out there. So yay them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I did hear both your interview with Palpatine and the creators of the show from Star Scavengers. And actually, this all dovetails with news that tomorrow I will be talking to the composer of the Star Wars Lego Freemaker Adventures. So, yay! Should be really fun.
Oh, that's exciting. Very cool, very cool. And there is, if you're interested in it at all, there is a panel at Star Wars Celebration on Sunday for Lego Star Wars, the Freemaker Adventures, for those of you that are going to Star Wars Celebration.
Speaking of Star Wars Celebration, you guys, did you guys get your media badges in?
Yes!
Were they awesome?
Yeah, and you know what actually came today as we record this? The tickets for Greg and my mom came in, so I have 2 Sunday Jyn Erso badges for them, and then I have the BB-8 one for me. And I was digging around looking for lanyards. I was like, what am I going to put on this? And I actually have a BB-8 lanyard. And I was like, perfect!
Yay! Me too, me too. What about you, Trisha?
He came and the envelope wasn't even sealed, so I felt like he wasn't even secured in his little droid socket. But luckily, he held on for the ride, defeated the Postmaster Starkiller base, and made it to me a little bit later than everybody else, because I was like, everybody has it, where's mine? But he arrived. We're down here at the bottom of Florida, so I guess it takes longer.
Do you need a BB-8 lanyard?
I don't know. I don't think I do. I feel like he's going to come home afterwards and sit next to my Poe Dameron media badge from last year. So someone was planning that. Poe and PB-8.
Wow.
And that's better because sometimes the media didn't get great badges, but I felt like we got some love this time.
Yeah, Celebration Anaheim, we had the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Which was all right.
I guess that makes sense.
That's
too.
all we have to say about that one.
Well, it was like, you guys are the Inquisitors. You know, the media is the Inquisitors.
Oh.
Yeah, so what does BB-8 say about us? Like, we record stuff, or thumbs up with, lighters,
BB-8 says,
what?
the First Order is coming. Oh, no! The media. No, he likes us.
I'm actually really glad we got BB-8. I'm not, we saw a bunch of the previews, and I was sitting there trying to figure it out. I really thought they would put BB-8 on a kid's badge, so I'm super glad they didn't.
I know. Well, we're excited. We're excited. And the one thing we did get, you heard us talk about it with Dave Filoni, is that we will be overlapping with the Heroines panel that they're having, which kind of bums us out. And I know people have made that point, but I missed the Ahsoka panel last year and I loved it. Still got to enjoy it on the stream, and this is on the stage. It'll get to stream. But some people are going to want to go to that and won't go to the show, our show, which is fine. But we just wanted to, say either choice is right. And there is always conflicts. There's 18 panels that I'm going to miss. So I'm so thankful that they record them now. But anyway, it is a conflict. We do, some people have told us about it. We do know about it. It's just one of those things that they have so much content that no matter what happens, you're going to run up against something. You'd be like, oh, let's move. I mean, originally Skywalking, what you guys were up against the Rebels panel.
Oh. Yes, we were right overlapping the Star Wars Rebels sneak peek on Saturday morning, and it was like, no, we were so conflicted. And luckily, when we emailed in to Mary Franklin just on a whim, we decided, let's just see. And she had that late slot on Saturday night panel, which is perfect because now it doesn't conflict with any of the panels during the day. So we were very excited, and everyone who wants to come and see a show can just sit back, relax, chill, and watch a show. So yay.
No, that is really good that you guys got to get that moved. But, when you guys are talking about panels that you're going to have to miss, just kind of some advice for everybody that's listening. you're going to mark tons of stuff on the app of stuff you
Yep.
want to go see. You're going to see about a third of what you mark. And it's okay, because what you end up doing instead of being at that panel, whether it's at the show floor, hanging out with people, sitting on the floor somewhere, eating snacks or whatever it is going to be just as amazing as the panel that you would have gone to. So just enjoy all of the experiences that you have, and don't get so consumed with, oh, I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to make it. Just enjoy all of the Star Wars that's engulfing your entire being over those 4 days.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
That's just those moments.
Definitely. Yeah. And also just embrace those moments. Like maybe you run into someone on your way to another panel who ends up being like a really good friend later down the line. And you can't miss those opportunities to make those connections with just actual people. So even if you miss a panel for creating a new relationship, I think that's worth it.
Absolutely. And if you do come to our podcast stage, we will make it worth your while. Have fun with friends.
Absolutely.
So,
Yay.
of the big panels, what are you guys excited for?
Hayden Christensen, duh. No, I'm just kidding. Been there, done that. I was just wanting Sarah to put another soundbite in there.
I shouldn't have done that. It's not the Jedi way.
Oh, you're funny. Well, he'll be at the 40th panel. Is that correct?
40th panel. If I had to pick one of the major panels, then for me, it's probably going to be Rebels, just because that starts sooner than The Last Jedi. So, but I don't know. All of those major panels are always so good. So, no, you know what I know I'm looking forward to the most? Closing ceremonies. Totally. Just kidding. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
Okay.
That's what we all start to quiet. I don't, they've announced a lot of people, but they've also said that there will be more surprise guests at the 40th. So, I'm kind of like, is it going to be George? Is it going to be Harrison? Who's it going to be? Who's that person that isn't necessarily signing autographs that they didn't need to tell us about already? That's
right.
I think it could be Harrison, and the reason I think that is because I think he's also going to be at Mark Hamill's tribute to Carrie Fisher.
Ooh.
So why bring, don't just bring him for the tribute to Carrie Fisher. Go ahead and loop him in for the 40th. I mean, come on.
Hey, it's me.
That would be amazing. And of course, The Last Jedi is such an interesting thing with, of course, our director, Rian Johnson, who is kind of a wild card director. So I'm kind of interested to see what he's going to bring to The Last Jedi. And I just love hearing from the creators of these things, because they have the overall story in their heads and they really know what's going on and can give everyone a broad picture of what they're doing. So, I'm definitely excited for all three of those amazing panels.
The future filmmaker from last year at London is the one that's never been shown on. They've never, loaded it up. And Ryan is, what would I say? He acknowledges that he could have been one of us in the convention hall watching, that a lot of things got him to the place, but I think everybody's going to really like meeting him. I loved hearing him, so I'm excited to see what he does, because he is, unlike J.J. Abrams, who did an awesome job. Their panel was awesome for The Force Awakens. Rian Johnson is one of us, as far as he's been a fanboy, and so it's going to be a little different, I think.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. Speaking of that particular panel, like, I was just running through my head of who might be there, and I would think maybe Jeremy Bulloch, because he's already going to be at the convention. He'd probably come out for Boba Fett. I'm kind of wondering about Daniel Logan. Maybe they'll bring out both Fetts together. That would be kind of cool.
Absolutely. So are we absorbed? Are the thoughts from Filoni? Is there anything that like blew your mind immediately when you listened to it?
I have a thing.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni plays trumpet.
I know. Did we know that? Did we know that he was in band? Because I felt like I read everything, and I don't remember ever hearing that.
I was excited. I was like, yay, fellow brass player. Woohoo. So I'm going to high five Dave Filoni over the airwaves and say, yeah, brass kicks ass. And yes, Sarah swears.
Well, and you also got your opera. I told you if you get the question right, he'll run with it and go. So you got a little bit of your opera answer in too, because we wanted to hear about that. And
by the way, I love. Speaking of that, Trisha, I love how he dodged what he was actually listening to. He didn't tell us. And I love how, Sarah, you tried to, kind of say, oh, it's Phantom, which my mom loves Phantom, and so do I. And then he's like, no, not Phantom. And I'm like, dang. That
might have been a giveaway, though.
Yeah.
We're had to think of shifty opera characters on the hunt now. Okay, and come on. Our other favorite thing of the whole... we have to give you people behind the scenes. There was a lot of should we or shouldn't we ask about Hot Kallus.
Yep. And I said yes.
And we did.
Yeah. I think Trisha, you had labeled it, this is a throwaway question if we have time, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And Teresa's
I wasn't sure.
We have to ask it. I know you weren't sure. And Teresa was like, you have to ask it. And I'm so glad we did, because that was the best.
That's one of those moments, because then I ended up asking it. People would see, if you could see, there's a plan, and then when you interview somebody, they talk about something, you're like, oh, that's a perfect segue. So you're switching orders of questions around and playing with them. And somehow I ended up with the Hot Kallus question. I'm like, oh no, what if this bombs? What if he doesn't like it? But he knows about Hot Kallus. He appreciates it. And apparently... Tracy Canobio's already tweeted about Hot Kallus, so...
During the interview, she tweeted.
That's so great. She was amazing. So excited about it while we were recording. She has to actually tweet about it. That was really good.
Aww. But you know what? My favorite thing was when Dave Filoni talked towards the end about loving the community that we've created and the fact that we all talk about his storytelling and we share it and we all discuss it together. So I think as a storyteller, that's probably the greatest gift you can give a storyteller. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, he was just, I don't even know. It's hard for me to articulate at this current moment, but I love talking to him because he's always so interested not only in answering our questions, but in what we're doing.
Yes, and I also love that we got to tell him that we had a whole episode discussion on the artwork from Tops that he did. And what he said that he was sort of working through the storytelling process. So with those pieces of art, and obviously he's was impressed we didn't. I know better than to ask about Ahsoka at this point, because he's not going to give anything away. Mm-mm. So yeah,
he brought up Ahsoka.
I know.
Well, he's probably been dreading that question all day. How do you dance around those questions? And it feels like if you ask him, sometimes some questions you're just going to get a dance, right? So when the time is right for Ahsoka, she'll come back into our lives. I think that's one of the important things we've kind of learned to trust. Dave Filoni's respect for what we as fans appreciate. And obviously it's been the voices of everybody who loved her, who's kept her going and kept her alive. And even for a storyteller, there are so many storytellers who don't want to hear what fans are talking about. And that's one of the most important things as a storyteller is it'd be like, Sarah, if you were making music, but you didn't go and see if people liked it. If you were just I'm going to write it and I don't care. I suppose that's okay. But when I performed, we're all band nerds. When you perform something, you want to get the the response, right? Because if you're just sitting in the room and you're not getting the response and there's like an energy when you're performing. So storytelling, it's a little bit of a lag, right? Because you're on to the next thing. So you've got to wait when people read it or see it and then see how they experience it. But it's cool that he's willing to kind of discuss it. And then a lot of the Star Wars creators are willing to have conversations. So my favorite storytellers were Timothy Zahn and Michael Stackpole and Aaron Alston, and they would go to conventions and just sit there and talk to people. So,
wow.
It reminds me too of stories like from the old fangirls they were fans from 1977 when I interviewed them, and they'd say, "Oh yeah, we went to a panel and we were talking with Larry and Richard Marquand." I can't remember. I think they called him Rich. She's saying the names. And I'm like, you're just sitting in a room having a panel discussion with Larry Kazan. Like for me, Sarah knows that I almost passed out when I was standing next to him. And you just don't talk to Lawrence Kasdan about storytelling anymore. But Star Wars back in the day, that was kind of its roots, where they would go to conventions and just talk to fans.
Yeah, nice.
Did you get your Maul? Did you get the love you felt for Maul?
Oh, from Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, actually, it's a good point. His answer to my question about Maul was pretty freaking perfect. I love how he went into it talking about all of Maul's characteristics. It's crazy. I feel like we're one brain, because so much of the stuff he was saying is stuff I've thought. And then, honestly, my favorite part of that question was when he started talking about the passage into the Force, that whole concept. And he starts bringing up the cosmic force versus the living force. And I'm like, oh, super nerdy, yeah. I was like so excited.
Yeah, I think he probably ranges on the super nerdy for Star Wars fans. But it's cool. We're all cool on our super nerd scale.
Shout it out to the social media from Teresa and Trisha and Sarah. Shout it out, fangirl shout outs.
Well, we want to thank our Facebook group, Fangirls Going Rogue Facebook group, for their support today, because before we had our interview with Dave Filoni, we had posted in the group what we would be doing, and we asked people to guess what we would be doing before we even posted in the group. And Sue Malenfant actually guessed that we were going to be talking with Dave Filoni before we told everyone. So congratulations, Sue, and it looks like you will be getting a special carry-on button at Star Wars Celebration. And it looks like you will be there, actually, according to an email that she sent. So, yay, we will hand off that button to you once at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah, and then we want to give another special shout out to an amazing fan who listens to our show, and her name is Annalise Ophelian. She's a documentary filmmaker, and she reached out to me recently just to fangirl over the show, which, thank you. We love when people email us at contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com. And she and I ended up having a conversation. She was telling me about this film, and I thought, why don't we do a real shout out? Let's have her come on the show and talk about it. Let's give her a call. So, Annalise, welcome to Fangirls Going Rogue.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's really awesome when I heard about what you're doing, and I told Sarah and Teresa, I'm like, we just have to get the word out there and spread it out there about this wonderful project you're working on. So why don't you just tell them about Looking for Leia, briefly what it is and what you're trying to accomplish?
Thank you so much. Yep. So I'm working on a documentary film called Looking for Leia that explores the sort of uniqueness of women and girls who are passionate about the Star Wars universe. And so I will this year be traveling all over the United States and hopefully a couple of countries outside of the US and Europe to talk with women who are fangirls, passionate about Star Wars, about their entry points, how the franchise has inspired them, what their fandom looks like, and hope to come out of it with this really amazing portrait of how ferocious and diverse and amazing Star Wars fangirls are.
Oh, amazing. So it's like a documentary?
That's correct.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to be at Celebration sort of running around being networking maven and connecting with folks. I've got a kind of like wonderful list of people I'm already going to be talking with that I've been connecting with on social media over the past couple of months, and we'll be doing more of that while I'm there. It's really the sort of most amazing place to get to talk with Star Wars fans. This will be my third Celebration, so I'm also really excited for myself to get to go. So I won't be necessarily on stage or in a panel. I'll be in the crowd, running around with, a stack of business cards, very sexy pins, if anybody wants one, like my Looking for Leia pins, and connecting with folks that way.
Oh, that's really great. Documentaries are actually one of my favorite things, and it sounds really weird, but one of my favorite documentaries was actually about trash workers here in Austin, Texas. No, it's so cool because it was all the story about how they do their job and how proud they are, and it was just one of the coolest things ever. And I got to see it at South by Southwest. So you should, once your documentary is done, you should totally submit it to South by. It'll be awesome.
I look forward to hopefully this project having a robust festival life. And I'm like you, I love documentaries because you really get to see the sort of extraordinary lives of ordinary people. And particularly this sort of a project, which is, it's like a gender justice project kind of wrapped up in a really awesome package. Because I think often documentaries are also about things that are, like hard or tragic. And it's wonderful when we have a chance to go and see real life stories that are more joyous and celebratory.
I am excited.
Have you interviewed anyone yet?
I have. I've had some preliminary interviews, and I'm being slightly cheeky about it just because I do a collaborative process where the folks who I work with get to review the way that they participate in the project, right? Because when you make art about representation and media, it's really important that you're being, I think, really like ethical in the way that you work with folks. And I'm really about centering women in their own stories. So I don't want to tell tales out of school, but I will say that I have been talking with some amazing cosplayers here in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is actually where I'm located, south of San Francisco, who do this amazing My Little Pony Jedi cosplay mashup.
Yes! Oh my God, yes!
Yeah, it's everything.
Freaking out right now.
I have
no idea.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. They're actually going to be doing a kind of big showpiece at the same time I'll be in Celebration. So I get to be the kind of director that has a second unit on the other coast following the My Little Pony Jedis. It's basically the pinnacle of my filmmaking career. Like, I'm
That's
done.
amazing.
It's great.
You need to find the Pony Mandos. There's a group that have all Mandalorian bounty hunter costumes that are ponies.
Please let us from your podcast to the Manda Pony's ears. I'm ready. It's like www.lookingforleia.com. Like, here's all my social media. This is part of what's fun about the project is that people who are serious about their fandom and want to show it off, like I want to show you off. So I love these stories where folks are like, oh, this is the thing that I know about. And you get things like Mandalorian, My Little Ponies. It's amazing.
That is incredible. So when people if they're going to the convention and they want to try to hook up with you and share their story and network with you, where can people find you other than lookingforleia.com?
We are just launching our Twitter, actually, and this is in part because the film has been on my personal Twitter, and I do mostly sort of social justice engagement. And so I'm trying to give all the folks who work for racial and gender justice a break because their feeds who are friends with me are suddenly blowing up with Star Wars. So I'm migrating this project to its own dedicated Twitter. Y'all can help us like build a nice, robust Twitter following for the celebration. It's at Leia Fangirl Film, no spaces, no dashes, at Leia Fangirl Film. If you go to lookingforleia.com, you'll also be able to like hit our social media off of all of the little icons there. If you go to Facebook, it's facebook.com/lookingforleia. And, just add us. And I will be there with a couple of crew members. And like I say, mostly being social. But of course, I'll also have a camera with me and really looking forward to connecting with folks.
Nice. Awesome. Well, we hope to definitely see you at some point. So I'm glad we got to get this word out. So you'll have so many stories, you might be overwhelmed by the end with all these awesome fangirls around the world. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, thank you for this. Is like I am a fangirl myself, and I'm a huge fan of this podcast. So thank you for letting me like kind of launch so much of the social media of this project off of your podcast. It's really exciting.
That's what we're here for.
Love it. Thank
you, Annalise, so much.
Thank you all.
But we'll see you at the con.
Yeah.
See you soon.
So probably you're most excited to hear what everybody else thinks about this interview and if we got the questions asked that you wanted and maybe some answers that you would have liked to have heard. So definitely let us know.
Yeah, you can email us contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com, and you guys can join our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group, and it is just search Fangirls Going Rogue on Facebook, and you can request to join that group. And if we see that you're a Star Wars fan, then we will let you in. And you can also like our Facebook page, Fangirls Going Rogue.
Yeah, and in between then and like we said for Star Wars Celebration, go over to fangirlsgoingrogue.com for all of the things that are going on, events and everything, and where we'll be. And make sure you are following our Twitter. So the show Twitter is at FGGoingRogue. Trisha is at Fangirl Cantina. I am at Ice Cold Penguin, and Sarah is at Jedi Tink, and Sandra, our social media manager, is at Geek Chic 9.
And we'll all be at the convention, so you get to say hi to all of us. And there's one other way you can leave feedback if you just freak out at this Dave Filoni interview and you want to tell us how you feel. You can voicemail us, 331-21-EWOKS or 331-213-9657. And this is really important on this episode. If you loved it, if you loved our episode, if you loved the interview, please go to iTunes and leave a positive 5-star review. We need your reviews, and then so many more people will be able to find us on iTunes. And we really, really appreciate them.
So, until next time. Da, 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 da.
Yup. Yup.
All right.
Welcome to outtake number 1.
Yep.
Okay. Let me see if I can get them on the phone. Insert interview here.
Was that too cheesy? Did that work?
No, it's super cheesy. Trust me. Go back and listen to like our first episodes with interviews. They sound exactly like that.
It's perfect.
Okay, I'm editing in my head as we go.
That's fine.
Shout it out, shout it out. Isn't that the one from Skywalking?
Nope, that's ours.
Yeah.
Okay.
To Teresa and Trisha
And Sarah. Oh, God. Now we're going to have more outtakes.
Yep.
Thanks, Rob Dellinger.
Boom.
Boom. See? Practice makes perfect.
Shout-outs. Skywalker shout-outs.
There
Which
it is.
Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout out. Who has shared a post? Shout out. Who has photobombed? Shout out. And I started too high, so I can't higher. Okay.
Bendu.
Yeah, no, that was really great. That was great. Well, when you asked me if I got my mall, I was like, actually, I did get the 2-pack mall with the Hasbro one, the 3 3/4 inch. But that's not what you were talking about.
She was on collecting segment, which we're not doing today.
Yeah, well, you asked me if I got mall. I did. I got it the other day.
And this is really important on this episode. If you loved it, if you loved our episode, if you loved the interview, go to iTunes and leave us a positive 5-star.
You were on a roll.
It always happens. I'm going in and out. Damn it.
I was holding it in, and then I heard Sarah giggling. I lost it. What's a 5-star, Trisha?
I love you.
I know.
Yep, yep.